WNBA finals. And so I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. You know, I'm a human too. I have a family. I have 2 kids who are devastated by these comments. And so all I'll say is just, you know, it's obviously been a tough week.
Most people assumed she would simply absorb it all quietly, flash a polite smile for the cameras, and patiently wait her moment. The belief was that Caitlin Clark should feel lucky just to have access, content sitting at the far end of the bench, soaking up wisdom from established stars. Instead, it appears the WNBA may have pushed its brightest attraction past her breaking point. Now the fallout is coming fast and hard. Whispers are spreading that the crown jewel of women's basketball has finally taken a stand, reportedly telling those close to the situation that she is finished with Team USA. What makes it even more stunning is that this wasn't driven solely by player dynamics. There are growing signs that Commissioner Cathy Engelbert herself may have unknowingly confirmed the unhealthy culture that triggered this move. The storyline has flipped completely, from patiently waiting her turn to potentially walking away altogether. And if these reports prove accurate, the league could be staring at the loss of its most powerful global draw. This unraveling traces back to what many are calling one of the most baffling roster decisions in modern sports. A choice that quietly set the stage for everything that followed. When the Team USA lineup for Paris was unveiled, the one name dominating headlines, selling out arenas, and sending television ratings soaring was shockingly absent. The selection panel leaned on the familiar justification of experience, insisting Clark hadn't earned her spot yet, and that veteran chemistry was essential for gold. But almost no one bought that explanation. It felt pointed. As fans worldwide tuned in expecting deep logo threes and creative playmaking, league decision-makers effectively sidelined her for an entire summer before she had even taken a professional step. The message couldn't have been clearer. Fame and impact aside, you're still not one of us. Yet that omission was only the beginning. If exclusion from the roster was a cold dismissal, what followed once league play began felt far more aggressive. From opening tip, Clark became a target. The season quickly turned hostile, highlighted by blindside hip checks. Most notably the now infamous collision with Chendi Carter that sent Clark crashing to the hardwood before play had even settled. There were relentless shoves, suffocating face guarding, and repeated physical challenges that cross well beyond standard competitive intensity. But the deeper problem wasn't just player behavior. It was the silence above it all. League leadership appeared reluctant to intervene, as if watching their rookie phenomenon endure public hazing was somehow acceptable. Suspensions were slow, fouls went unupgraded, and only after widespread outrage did officials react, allowing the narrative to spiral unchecked. That inaction reached a turning point when, just as tension seemed to ease, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert reignited the controversy. In a CNBC interview that quickly spiraled into a public relations disaster, Engelbert attempted to minimize the hostility surrounding Clark by likening it to the Magic Johnson-Larry Bird rivalry of the 1980s. Smiling, she spoke about branding value and market growth, framing the conflict as beneficial for business. In doing so, she failed to directly address the very real undertones of racism and venom that had been lingering over fans and players alike. It was a glaring misstep. By reducing physical targeting and abuse to a marketing opportunity, she unintentionally reinforced Clark's sense of being unsupported. The message was unmistakable. Drama and revenue mattered more than the personal safety and mental health of the star, generating both. The response was swift and fierce. The WNBA Players Association, typically aligned with league leadership, released a statement distancing itself from Engelbert's remarks. High-profile players such as Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier stepped forward to say what the commissioner would not. That hatred has no place in the game. For Clark, however, the damage may already have been irreversible. Imagine being the worker responsible for unprecedented revenue, private flights for the entire staff, and blockbuster television contracts, only to watch your boss go on national TV and imply that the people attacking you are actually helping business. That kind of moment shakes trust to its core, and it's exactly the kind of betrayal that forces someone to reconsider where their loyalty truly lies. That's the foundation of the growing exit rumors. You can't analyze this situation without confronting the obvious issue: long-standing resentment from the league's old guard. For years, Team USA has operated like an exclusive fraternity, controlled by the same legends and the same tight-knit group who have shared locker rooms for more than a decade. For months now, whispers have circulated that certain veteran players made it clear they didn't want the so-called Caitlin Clark show interfering with their rhythm in Paris. This was never just about basketball compatibility. It was about control of the spotlight. Diana Taurasi's now infamous remark that reality is coming for Clark has aged terribly, especially as Clark went on to shatter rookie records and lead the league in assists. By shutting her out of the Olympic roster, the veterans believed they were preserving their legacy and protecting their locker room culture. Instead, they may have burned the bridge to the next era entirely. Yes, they secured the gold medal, but they lost the public narrative and distanced millions of new fans who were only watching for number 22. This is where the story takes a decisive and possibly irreversible turn. According to fresh speculation and insider chatter, Clark isn't sitting at home sulking over a missed flight to Paris. She's reportedly making calculated decisions to safeguard her personal brand. The talk is that after being excluded by the Olympic Selection Committee, physically targeted on the court, and left unsupported by league leadership, Clark has chosen to redirect her focus away from the U.S. national program altogether. It's a bold power play. She understands her value. She knows she delivers ratings, moves merchandise, and fills arenas. If Team USA believes it can thrive without her, she may have decided she doesn't need them either. At this moment, she's larger than the emblem on the jersey, and she's fully aware of it. Sources suggest she has privately indicated she has little interest in future invitations unless the existing culture changes. If this potential withdrawal becomes reality, the consequences would be massive. We're talking about the face of the sport possibly refusing to represent the country due to internal politics and institutional neglect. It flips the entire power structure on its head. The WNBA and Team USA operated under the assumption that players depend on the system to remain relevant, that the Olympics are the ultimate bargaining chip. But Clark has demonstrated that she is the system. By reportedly stepping away from the national team pathway, she strips them of their most marketable figure for the 4-year build-up to the Los Angeles Olympics. Financially, it's a ticking time bomb, and the commissioner may be the one left absorbing the fallout. They needed her image front and center for LA 2028. Without her, the league is attempting to sell a product that its newly expanded audience simply isn't as eager to buy. The numbers tell an unforgiving story if Clark truly walks away. Before her arrival, the WNBA was struggling to stay profitable, flying commercial and playing before sparsely filled arenas. Since she entered the league, attendance has surged by more than 40% across the board. Television viewership has tripled, and the league secured a historic media rights agreement valued at over $2 billion. That revenue fuels the increased salaries and premium travel conditions that veteran players now benefit from. The irony is impossible to ignore. While the league office and longtime stars often treat Clark like an outsider, they're all cashing checks written by her popularity. If she chooses to dedicate herself solely to the Indiana Fever and step away from Team USA responsibilities, she's effectively taking her influence with her, forcing the national team to rely on aging stars who no longer command the same attention. The commissioner's role in this controversy deserves closer examination to fully grasp why Clark might consider such a drastic move. When Kathy Engelbert was questioned about the darker side of the online discourse, racism, misogyny, and direct threats, she pivoted to a corporate narrative about rivalries and engagement. She attempted to compare the situation to the intense NBA battles of the 1980s, but those rivalries, however physical, never carried the level of toxicity seen today. By refusing to draw a firm boundary, the commissioner made the league appear complicit. The message came across as chillingly clear. As long as viewership is up, player treatment is secondary. For a young star like Clark, who has remained composed and professional throughout the chaos, that moment likely felt like a deep betrayal. It reinforced every suspicion that the league is happy to profit from her fame while quietly resenting her dominance. And then there's the so-called chemistry excuse used to justify keeping her off the Olympic roster. The committee claimed there wasn't enough time to integrate her fast-paced, high-usage style with the veteran core. They argued her deep shooting and tempo wouldn't align with the established system. But anyone who watched the WNBA All-Star Game knows how hollow that argument was. Clark played alongside other league stars against Team USA and completely outperformed the Olympic squad. distributing assists, scoring efficiently, and elevating everyone around her immediately. That game made one thing painfully clear. The issue was never chemistry. It was ego. Team USA looked sluggish and out of sync, while the group led by Clark played with speed, flow, and confidence, like a preview of what basketball is becoming. That game marked the turning point where talk of her walking away stopped sounding like gossip and started feeling realistic. Why would she willingly step into a system that seems determined to resist the very style that makes her special? Then there's the Sheryl Swoopes element. The WNBA icon has emerged as one of Clark's most outspoken critics, repeatedly shifting the criteria for what qualifies as greatness. From inaccurately suggesting Clark spent 5 years in college to minimizing record-breaking accomplishments, Swoopes has become a loud representative of the old guard's frustration. Despite this, the league continues to feature her in media roles. For Clark, watching the organization financially reward someone who regularly undermines her resume likely feels like yet another act of disrespect. It creates a poisonous workplace atmosphere. In most professional environments, if a senior analyst publicly misrepresented a top performer's credentials, it would trigger immediate intervention. In the WNBA, it's brushed off as entertainment. That steady erosion of her credibility almost certainly plays into her desire to step away from the league's inner politics. What makes the situation even more telling is the silence surrounding it. Normally, when speculation reaches this level, an agent or publicist steps in quickly to shut it down with a carefully worded statement about national pride and future plans. This time, there's been nothing. No denial. No reassurance. That quiet says more than any press release could. It implies that serious conversations are happening privately, and that Clark understands just how much leverage she holds. She doesn't need the Olympic platform to grow her profile. She's already an international star. The reality is that the Olympics need her far more than she needs them to capture casual viewers. And consider the physical grind she endured this season. Constant traps, relentless full-court pressure, repeated contact that went unwhistled. She logged heavy minutes, absorbed the most punishment, and still carried her team into the postseason. After all of that, instead of receiving protection or public support, she was met with a commissioner unwilling to clearly defend her against hatred. It's a textbook example of an organization failing its most valuable talent. We've seen similar situations in the NBA, where players respond to disrespect by requesting trades or disengaging entirely. Clark's approach appears quieter but just as decisive, a form of load management on a global level. She's choosing her long-term health, both physical and mental, over chasing a medal she was never truly welcome to pursue. Unsurprisingly, fan reaction has split straight down the middle. Longtime WNBA supporters argue the league thrived before Clark and insist she's overhyped. Meanwhile, millions of newer fans see a young star being singled out and mistreated. That divide is dangerous for the league. It's the commissioner's responsibility to unify audiences, not deepen fractures. Yet her remarks did the opposite. By framing the tension as a business opportunity, she alienated the very fans who feel invested in Clark's success. If Clark steps away from Team USA, many of those fans will follow. They won't tune in to support a program that sidelined the player they came to watch. Olympic ratings were strong this time, but without Clark headlining the 2028 Games in Los Angeles, the outlook could be bleak. Then there's the Angel Reese factor. The Clark-Reese rivalry is arguably the most compelling storyline in modern basketball, born on the college championship stage and carried seamlessly into the professional ranks. But the league has struggled to manage it responsibly. Instead of setting firm boundaries, officials allowed it to fester, with fans crossing lines and players amplifying the hostility. When Reese celebrated a teammate's hard foul, the league let the narrative spiral because controversy drove engagement. But there's a clear distinction between competitive toughness and deliberate targeting. Throughout it all, Clark has consistently taken the high road, avoiding trash talk, refusing to portray herself as a victim, and staying focused on the game. Still, patience has limits. Stepping away from Team USA may be her calm, calculated way of saying she's done participating in the chaos. The stakes for 2028 couldn't be higher. The Los Angeles Olympics are positioned as a defining moment for women's sports in the United States, a global showcase meant to elevate the WNBA to unprecedented heights. But that vision collapses without the most recognizable female athlete in the sport. If Clark truly stands her ground and declines to play, the U.S. team will still be competitive. Their talent pool is deep, and they'll continue to win games. What they won't have is cultural gravity. They'll be just another strong basketball roster. Clark supplies the star power. She attracts people who normally wouldn't watch a single possession. Remove her from the equation, and the spectacle loses its shine. League leadership understands this, which is why quiet panic appears to be setting in. This leads directly to the financial crossroads facing the WNBA. Players are preparing to opt out of the collective bargaining agreement, pushing for higher pay, improved benefits, and a larger share of league revenue. Those demands are built on the explosive growth Clark helped create. But if she's openly at odds with both the league and the national program, that growth becomes uncertain. Should she take a break or simply stop lending her voice and visibility to league initiatives, that leverage evaporates. Other players may soon realize that turning against the engine driving their success is a risky gamble. They wanted charter flights and seven-figure salaries, but they seemed less enthusiastic about embracing the phenomenon that made those upgrades possible. You can't demand the rewards while rejecting the catalyst. There's also a deeply emotional layer to this story. Caitlin Clark grew up dreaming of wearing the Team USA jersey. Old interviews make that clear. She wanted to follow in the footsteps of Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, for those very heroes to distance themselves from her. And for the system she admired to shut her out, is likely devastating. It marks a loss of innocence, not just for Clark but for the sport itself. It exposes the darker realities of professional competition, envy, politics, and gatekeeping. When Clark eventually addresses this publicly, it probably won't come from a place of anger. It will come from disappointment, and that quiet disappointment may resonate more powerfully than outrage ever could. Fans watched a young star arrive with the intention of elevating everyone around her, only to be pulled down by the very figures she once idolized. Her Olympic exclusion wasn't simply about playing time, it was a deliberate sidelining of her influence. The selection committee wanted to reinforce the idea that no individual is bigger than the system. They wanted to prove they could succeed without the Clark effect. Technically, they did. The gold medal came home, but the margins were tighter than expected, and the excitement felt muted. They won the games, but they failed to capture the moment. In today's world, moments matter more than margins. Clark embodies the future. The committee chose familiarity over evolution. So what happens next? The responsibility now rests squarely with the commissioner. Kathy Engelbert must repair this relationship, and quickly. That means more than a carefully scripted corporate response. It requires a genuine apology and a clear demonstration that the league values Clark's safety, respect, and humanity more than manufactured controversy. If that doesn't happen, this rumored exit may become reality. Clark has the platform and the resources to build something entirely her own. Camps, media ventures, global branding. She doesn't need institutional approval to thrive. She doesn't need the WNBA to be Caitlin Clark. But the WNBA undeniably needs Caitlin Clark to remain relevant. The league was handed a once-in-a-generation opportunity, and it may have already damaged it beyond repair. Between the Olympic snub, the unchecked on-court targeting, and the commissioner's tone-deaf remarks, it's no surprise Clark is reportedly reconsidering her relationship with Team USA. They asked her to be patient and wait her turn. Instead, she may choose to redefine the game entirely. If she truly walks away from the national team, responsibility won't fall on her shoulders. It will fall on the league's. They prioritized veteran comfort over emerging greatness. They chose stability over transformation. And now they may be forced to watch that transformation happen without them.